Hello, welcome to another Wellness Wednesday Q&A here on the Paso Norte Health Foundation Facebook page. Today we're here with Paso Norte Health Foundation Vice President of Programs, Michael Kelly, and Blake Barrow, Director of the Rescue Mission of El Paso. Welcome, gentlemen. We'll discuss and answer your questions about the Health Foundation and the Rescue Mission's response to the needs of El Paso's homeless shelters during COVID-19 today. The Health Foundation recently awarded a $7,500 grant to the Rescue Mission of El Paso to purchase supplies for the production and distribution of handmade masks for staff and volunteers of homeless shelters across El Paso County who are working on the front lines to serve the most vulnerable in our community. We encourage you to submit your questions early in the comments here on Facebook Live, and we'll answer as many possible during this 15-minute live session. As always, we do also encourage you to visit epcovid19.org. It's your COVID-19 information hub for the Paso Norte region. It was created by the Paso Norte Health Foundation to help the community, that's you and your loved ones, find valuable resources and to help get through the current health crisis. There's a lot of valuable links and other resources there for parents, students, businesses, mental health needs, and lots of other different topics, including help for people who may not have shelter right now. So again, thank you, Blake, and thank you, Michael, for joining us today. How are you doing?
Doing
Glad to
great.
be here.
Good, good. Michael, let's start off with talking about, before we touch on this grant that was awarded to the rescue mission, let's start off talking about some of the other partnerships that the Health Foundation has done. I know that you all awarded a grant to the El Paso County Medical Society as well.
Right. So, I mean, some of the more immediate needs, that are pretty obvious, I think, are personal protection equipment, food, and the like, of course. So, yeah, the El Paso County Medical Society came to us and was looking for N95 masks for doctors and healthcare providers around town, not just their own members. But people who needed protection. So we did. We made them a grant for about $40,000, and they are in the process of procuring these higher end medical masks. But I mean, as time went through this pandemic, we started realizing, okay, other people are going to need to wear masks, and we know that they're not supposed to wear those N95s. So we turned our attention to really the homeless population, and that's kind of where this story started.
Great. And then obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the Health Foundation made a $7,500 grant available to the Rescue Mission of El Paso, which is why we have Blake Burrow here today. How did that come about?
Yeah. So our first bit of work, and I'm going to ask Blake to describe some of this his stuff in a second. The first part of the foundation work was really around cleaning supplies in a partnership with the United Way of El Paso. We bought $18,000 worth of cleaning supplies and delivered them to places like the Rescue Mission, but also the Salvation Army Opportunity Center and other places for homeless people that are living in pretty tight quarters sometimes. As I was talking with Blake, who I know, he was a member of our Realize Executive leadership program in years past. So we've had a relationship. We were talking about some of these needs, and we got talking about the homemade masks and how he discovered them. And we just thought it was a great opportunity to support the rescue mission, to have them have masks for their staff, and then to share masks with other homeless shelters in need. So Blake can certainly tell you that story as to how it developed.
All right. Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, well, we were on a conference call talking about needs, and the question that I had was really a matter of supplies. And then the foundation found out what we were doing and said, "Hey, let's help out." So in one of the early meetings that we had with the health department, I was asking for instructions on how to make masks because the real mask is simply not available, or someone's gouging the price on Amazon. So we did a little research and just applied a lot of common sense to it and came up with a pretty interesting design. And the idea was to get something as close as we could to a real N95 mask. And so this one is a little different than your standard cloth mask in that it has a pocket right in here. And I'll just pull this one out, or there we go, you can see it. So inside that pocket is a sheet that we have cut away from a home furnace filter. And it's the high density filter that's made for people with allergies. And so in the research that we're doing, we're getting a filter that's very close to a HEPA filter. So that when you put it on, um, and it's got some pleats here, so it stretches around the chin, and you get a pretty nice fit to it. For folks wearing glasses, if you put the glasses just over the mask, then you don't fog up your glasses so much. But as I inhale, the resistance of the mask is sucking that filter right up next to my nose and my mouth. So the idea with the N95 is that whatever I am breathing in has been filtered, as
Right.
opposed to a standard surgical mask, which is designed to protect the surgeon's patient. So that if the surgeon is breathing out any kind of virus or bacteria, it'll block it before it gets to the patient. This mask is if there's some virus floating in the air. The N95 means, of course, it'll block 95% of viruses. Nothing is foolproof. So this is as close as we could come to it. The real challenge I thought would be that we'd run out of the air filters. Lowe's still has them. The challenge has been these earpieces. And this is a standard headband, which most of them are made for ladies. So we get some rather interesting colors for the ladies. But I just went on Amazon yesterday and bought 300 more. So the earpieces turn out to be about $2 per mask.
That's a pretty remarkable and ingenious little design that you guys came up with there. And so tell us a little bit about what these masks are being used for, how they're being distributed to shelters around the county.
Well, thanks to the Paso del Norte Health Foundation, they funded the first 1,000 of these. So we've got a little manufacturing room going with 4 sewing machines, and we're cranking them out. So then we've been able to deliver free of charge to other shelters that are caring for homeless people. And I'm telling the shelters, I want to provide a mask for every resident of your shelter, also for the staff that are caring for those people. And then our staff members are going home to their families. So if we don't protect the families of the staff members, we're not doing a complete job. So we're passing them out.
Great. And I just want to remind the audience on Facebook that today we're here with Paso Norte Health Foundation Vice President of Programs, Michael Kelly. You just heard from Blake Barrow. He's the director of the Rescue Mission of El Paso. We're talking about the different ways in which the Health Foundation and some of their community partners are working to help the homeless situation, help the homeless shelters in El Paso County during this current public health crisis. How many of those masks have you been able to distribute so far?
We are almost to 900.
So that's a pretty good amount. And is there still a pretty great need, or is there still a big gap from?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot of people out there that can and should be buying the mask. So after we distribute the 1,000, then our cost is about $7.50 to make these. So we'll be selling them to whoever wants them. And I've
Okay.
had medical doctors call me up, say, "Yeah, give me 100," and they want to distribute them to the elderly patients and so forth. So, there was an article in the paper a couple of months ago. Honeywell is gearing up a factory in Phoenix to start cranking out the real N95s. But we all know it's going to take some time for that supply to build up. And until that supply does, we'll just keep making these.
That's awesome. We do want to encourage anyone who has questions out there to comment here in the comment section here of the Facebook Live. We did have one question about whether or not you all are selling these masks to the general public. I think you kind of addressed that, but
Yeah. So we'll have them available for sale. Anyone looking at them, just give us a call. So the rescue mission number is 532-2575.
Okay, great. That's good information. Um, Maybe I don't know, either you or Michael can answer this question. Maybe I don't know, Michael, if you've heard from some of the other shelters around town, or Blake, I'm sure you're in contact with everybody involved in trying to help the homeless right now. How has COVID-19 affected the homeless population here in El Paso County?
Well, the biggest change has been the intake procedures for all shelters. So, a problem that all of us have, some of the shelters are more crowded than others. In the shelter setting, a 6 foot social distancing simply is not going to exist all the time. Um, some shelters are more crowded than others, but one of the problems that all of us face is here is someone that just came in from the street. We're not exactly sure where they've been, what they've been exposed to. The health department would want us to quarantine this person for a period of time, and none of us have the space to do that. So, one of the really great things that we're seeing coming out of this problem is we have never before had so many nonprofit agencies and governmental entities working together to tackle a problem. So, what has happened now is the city of El Paso is contributing a building that it has, the recreation center over on Delta Street, which had been closed down because all rec centers are closed. Well, it's a marvelous facility. So they've contributed the building. The El Paso County Health Department is providing medical screening, and there's enough space to do the quarantine. So we now have a unified intake for all shelters. You come in, you get your medical checkup, they make sure you're past the quarantine period, and then you're assigned to the shelter that's the most appropriate for your situation. We've never had a level of cooperation like that before, and I think it's going to continue, and it's great.
Yeah, this is great. That's something that we've talked about with almost everyone who's come on our Facebook Lives about how this situation has created some difficulties, but it's also created some things that can be continued after this crisis is over to help improve things in general. We're coming up on our 15-minute time limit here, but I do have one more question, a couple more questions from the Facebook audience. One is whether or not the masks are all one size fits all, or if there's any children's sizes.
We can make children's sizes. Basically, it's the length of the ear strap,
Mm.
and you can even take your needle and thread and take a stitch in that. But yeah, we do have a separate children's size, so some extra long for larger heads.
Okay, great. I might need one of those. um, well, one other question that we just got on Facebook before we wrap up. One person wants to know, as a result of COVID-19, what do you see will be your greatest need in the next 60 days, 120 days, up to a year?
Um, I think just society as a whole, all the things that we do, our distancing will be a factor. We have been trying to build facilities before that basically we're thinking how many people can we put into this space, because it costs money to build space. If you look at a building, it's what is your cost per square foot, and now I think the direction going forward will be we really cannot afford to build the cheapest building that we can. What is a healthful space to maintain between people? And it's going to change the way we do business going forward.
Great. So I do have one more question for each of you. Michael, I'll give it to you first. How can people help if they want to get involved and help and do so through the Health Foundation?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple ways. Of course, you can help yourself in your own neighborhoods. by following the rules and the like. But if you want to help more directly, particularly financially, the Paso Norte Community Foundation is a great place to donate, and then that money is then transferred to nonprofits like the Rescue Mission to help with masks, to help with food, other personal protection equipment, cleaning supplies, and the like. So donations can be made at Paso Norte Community Foundation.
Great. And how about yourself, Blake?
Well, I'm not going to compete with the foundation. Of course, we're all raising funds on our own. I will add that the people of El Paso are some of the most generous folks you'll meet in any community. And it's time like these that you think, well, the financial markets are crashing. People don't have the capacity to give as much. And yet people are stepping up and saying, what do you need? How can I help? How can I get involved? And it's El Paso is a wonderful place to be here in a community like that.
Yeah, we've been through a lot here in El Paso in the last year, but we've also seen the community come together like in no other time before. So that's really great to see. As Michael Kelly mentioned, we are here on the Paso Norte Health Foundation Facebook page, but our sister organization is the Paso Norte Community Foundation. If you go to the homepage there, pdnfoundation.org, on the very homepage, there's a link that has funds that are all COVID-19 related, including the COVID-19 Response Fund, the El Paso Food and Beverage Workers Fund, EP COVID-19 Medical Equipment and Supply Fund, and just a number of others if you'd like to help in that way. We also do want to continue to encourage everybody to log on to epcovid19.org, which is the COVID-19 information hub for the Paso Norte region. It has a multitude of information and resources available in both English and Spanish for the community to help get through this current crisis, including resources for parents, students, businesses, mental health needs, much more. Again, we want to thank Blake from the Rescue Mission of El Paso for joining us today, as well as Michael Kelly from the Paso Norte Health Foundation. We'll be back here next week for another Wellness Wednesday Q&A on Facebook Live. So check that out. And we are also on the Paso Norte Community Foundation Facebook Live every Tuesday at noon. So join us for those Q&As every week, and we'll be back, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.